3 weeks. That's how long Daniel Martinez had been bonded to Lyanna the Seventh Foot, tall Xerian medical officer who'd saved his life and somehow become his wife in the process. 3 weeks of learning that, till death do us part, had a very different meaning when your life forces were literally intertwined. You're doing it again, Lyanna said without looking up from her medical charts, her 4 hands moving in perfect synchronization. Doing what? Daniel asked innocently from where he sat on the edge of her workstation, staring at me with that expression humans make when they find something aesthetically pleasing. I'm married to you. I'm allowed to stare at my gorgeous alien wife. Daniel grinned. Besides, you love it. Lyanna's luminescent blue, silver skin rippled with what Daniel had learned was her version of a blush. Your lack of shame is disturbing. You say disturbing, I say charming. Before Lyanna could respond, the station's alarm blared to life. Red emergency lights flooded the medical bay and her opalescent eyes snapped to the main display. What's happening? Daniel jumped to his feet. Raiders, Lyanna said, her voice shifting from gentle to commanding in an instant. A HFY War party. They're boarding the station. Her hands flew across multiple consoles simultaneously. They target medical facilities for supplies and hostages. Daniel's blood ran cold. The HFYs were notorious across 3 sectors, brutal and merciless. How many? Scans show 15, heavily armed. Lyanna was already moving, her 4 arms pulling weapons and equipment from secured lockers. Daniel, you need to hide. Now. Hide? Lyanna, I'm not leaving you. She spun to face him, and for the first time since they'd bonded, Daniel saw fear in her eyes. Not for herself, for him. You don't understand. HFYs specifically target bonded pairs. They've discovered that Xerians will do anything, sacrifice anything to protect their bonded mate. They use it against us, Then we fight together. You are still recovering. You have no combat training. I have 3 years of deep space survival experience and a really strong motivation to keep my wife alive. Daniel cut her off. Plus, you said it yourself. We're bonded. Your pain is my pain. Which means my pain is your pain too, right? Lyanna's eyes widened slightly. Yes, but then stop trying to protect me alone. We protect each other. That's how marriage works, remember. For a moment, Lyanna just stared at him. Then something fierce and proud flickered across her face. You are the most infuriatingly stubborn human I have ever encountered. Yeah, well, you married me. Too late for buyer's remorse. The medical bay doors exploded inward. 3 HFY warriors stormed in, reptilian faces twisted in savage grins, their scaled bodies covered in battle armor. They were smaller than Lyanna but moved with predatory grace, a Xerian medic. The leader hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air. And look, she's bonded. We can smell it on her. His yellow eyes fixed on Daniel. The human is your mate. How deliciously pathetic. Lyanna positioned herself between Daniel and the raiders, all 4 arms extending, her skin suddenly shifting from peaceful blue, silver to aggressive crimson patterns. Leave now, and I will allow you to survive this encounter? The HFYs laughed. Medics don't fight. It's against your precious code. He raised his weapon. But I wonder, how much pain can that human endure before you break your oath? Everything happened at once. The HFYs fired. Lyanna moved faster than Daniel thought possible, deflecting the blast with some kind of energy shield from her wrist device. But the second raider had flanked them, his weapon aimed directly at Daniel. Daniel dove, but he knew he wasn't fast enough. The shot would hit. He'd be dead in seconds, and Lyanna, the world exploded in pain, not his pain. Lyanna's, she'd thrown herself in front of him, taking the blast meant for his chest. Through their bond, Daniel felt everything, the searing agony of the energy weapon, the desperate determination to keep him safe, the terror that she hadn't been fast enough. Ow, Lyanna! Daniel caught her as she staggered. Her shoulder was smoking, the luminescent skin charred black. I'm fine, she gasped, but through their bond, Daniel felt the lie. The pain was excruciating, and something inside him snapped. Daniel had never been a violent person. He'd spent 3 years in space avoiding conflict, making jokes, staying safe. But as he looked at his wife, injured because of him, as he felt her pain through their bond like it was his own, something primal and protective roared to life in his chest. Get behind me, he said, his voice strange even to his own ears. Daniel, no, but he was already moving. One of the raiders had gotten cocky, moved too close. Daniel grabbed a surgical laser from Lyanna's nearby tray and drove it into the gap in the HFY's armor. The raider screamed and fell. The other 2 stared in shock. Humans weren't supposed to fight. They were weak, fragile things. Daniel picked up the fallen raider's weapon. His hands were shaking, but his aim was steady. You hurt my wife, he said simply. That was a mistake. Through their bond, he felt Liana's shock, her fear for him, but also something else. Pride. Fierce, protective pride, Daniel, Liana said softly, her 4 hands working to seal her wound even as she stood. Together, he agreed. What followed was chaos. Daniel had no training, but he had 3 years of desperate survival instincts and a connection to someone who did have training. Through their bond, he could feel Liana's tactical awareness, her combat knowledge flowing into him like water finding cracks. He ducked when she silently urged him to, fired when she gave him openings, moved in perfect synchronization with her. And Liana, despite her injuries, fought like something primal and terrifying. Her 4 arms became weapons themselves, her medical knowledge of anatomy making every strike devastatingly precise. But more than that, Daniel felt through their bond what drove her. Not protocol or training, love. Absolute consuming, protective love for him. The Krievik's leader, seeing his warriors fall, snarled and activated something on his wrist. If I can't have you, no one will. He hurled a device toward them. Thermal explosive. Liana gasped. Daniel, run! Not without you. Daniel grabbed her, using every ounce of strength to pull her toward the emergency exit. They crashed through the doors as the explosion tore through the medical bay behind them. They collapsed in the corridor, smoke and debris everywhere. Daniel's ears were ringing, his body screaming in pain. But worse was the agony flooding through the bond. Liana's injuries were severe, her breathing ragged. Hey, Daniel said, pulling her head onto his lap, his hands frantically checking her wounds. Hey, stay with me. You don't get to save my life and then die on me. That's not how this works. Liana's opalescent eyes focused on him, tears tracking down her luminescent face. Your pain is my pain, she whispered, echoing her earlier words. And I felt everything you felt. The moment you thought I would die, the terror, the love. Her voice broke. Daniel, I did not know bonding could feel like this. So intense. So consuming. Yeah, well, welcome to human emotions. We feel everything way too much. Daniel's hands were shaking as he tried to seal her wounds with medical supplies from his emergency pack. But that's also why we fight so hard for the people we love. I understand now. Liana said, her 4 hands reaching up to cup his face. Why humans terrify the galaxy. Not because of your technology or your weapons. Because of this capacity to love so fiercely that you become something more than you were. Is this your way of saying you like being married to me? Daniel tried to joke, but his voice cracked. I am saying. Liana pulled him down until their foreheads touched, their bond singing between them, that I would burn down galaxies for you. I would defy every code, break every oath, abandon every principle, and it terrifies me how good that feels. Daniel laughed, slightly hysterical. Good, because I just committed interstellar assault to protect you, so we're even. Station security finally arrived along with reinforcements. The medical team tried to separate Daniel and Liana to treat them individually, but the moment they moved more than a few feet apart, both of them cried out in pain, their bond protesting the distance. They stay together. The head medic finally ordered, pulling them onto a single medical bed. Bonded pairs cannot be separated during treatment. As they lay side by side, Liana's 4 hands tangled with Daniel's too, she whispered. I thought I understood what our bond meant, but I was wrong. It's not just shared life force. It's shared soul. Yeah, Daniel agreed, feeling through their connection every beat of her heart, every thought in her mind, every ounce of her love for him. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Even though I nearly got you killed. You saved my life. Again, and I saved yours. That's what partners do. Daniel squeezed her hands. Though maybe next time we could try a nice, quiet dinner date instead of fighting space pirates. Liana's laugh was weak but genuine. Your species has a phrase, I believe, for better or worse. Yeah, and apparently worse includes space raids and explosions. Daniel grinned despite everything. But the better part, that's pretty great. I mean, I have an incredibly beautiful, brilliant, terrifyingly capable wife who literally cannot live without me. Guys back on Earth would kill for that kind of devotion. Devotion? Liana repeated softly. Yes, that is what this is. I am devoted to you, Daniel Martinez. Utterly. Completely. In ways that transcend species logic or reason. Good, Daniel said, bringing her hand to his lips. Because you're stuck with me now, and I'm way too stubborn to let anything happen to either of us. As the medical team worked around them, as the station began repairs, as security hauled away the surviving raiders, Daniel and Liana lay together, their bond humming contentedly between them. They'd survived their first real test as a bonded pair, and somehow, impossibly, they'd come out stronger, Daniel, Liana said sleepily as the pain medication began to take effect. Yeah, Next time you say each just a scratch, I will personally restrain you to a medical bed for a full cycle. Daniel laughed. Deal. And next time someone threatens you, I won't ask permission before defending you. Deal. Lyanna echoed, her opalescent eyes drifting closed. In the depths of space, bound by forces beyond understanding, a human and a Xerian had found something the galaxy had forgotten was possible. Not just survival. Not just partnership. Home. And they'd defend it with everything they had, together.